Good day everybody, Corey here with some more PHP runner tips and tricks. Today I answer a question by Wilder. My apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly. He asked how to build an application that will allow a user to change or recover his password. Now Wilder, that can be done with a few simple steps. So I decided to demonstrate that quickly, and since we are on the topic, I'm going to show you a few tricks that might be handy for all of us. Thank you very much Excellentsoft for this amazing software. If you do not have a copy yet, you will definitely consider it after this tutorial. I'm quickly going to show you the tables that we are going to work with. It's the products table and then also the users table. The user table will be used to authenticate with the application, and I'm going to use the email field as the username in this project. As you can see, there's already one user loaded in the table and he is an administrator. I am now going to create a new project and I'm going to just call it user maintenance. Click on create. I added the products table and I'm going to go through to my pages view. I only need a list page in this case. Now I click through until I get to my security page. And since our table for authentication is in our database, I'm just going to click database here. It asks me a few questions. I'm going to use the users table. Username field is going to be the email. Password field is going to be my password field. And then the full name, I just want to show the name. There's a lot of options right here, but I'm just going to demonstrate the registration passwords. The first thing you want to do is enable new user registration. I'm then going to click on choose fields. You will note that email and password is compulsory. You can't remove that. But what we do want to ask is the name. I'm then going to click on remind password page. I'm going to leave the default settings, and I am also going to need a change password page. Please make sure that your user email field is going to be the email, since this setting is going to send the user an email in case he forgot his password. Click OK. I'm now going to click next to get to my designer page. I'm going to open up my tables list and click on common pages, and I want to go to my register page. Here you will see we ask the email, the password, password confirmation, and then a name. I want my name to be the first field on the form. Now at this point I just quickly want to show you on the user table there is actually more fields that we want to populate, but we do not ask it in the form, so it will have to be populated within the application in the background. I am now going to jump straight to my events page, and then on my register page I'm going to go to before registration. So I'm just simply going to add this piece of code. It's going to populate user group with general before registration. Now I'm going to go to after successful registration. Now the only thing that happens here is that registration source is set to web and the user status is set to active, since we also don't ask those two fields from the user registration page. So that's more or less the basics for now, and I'm just going to demonstrate the sign up page. If you click that, you can now register. I'm going to register as John. Password I'm just going to make 1234, and I'm going to confirm my password 1234. Tells me the registration was successful. Click on proceed to login page. It's also very nice to see that it already populates the values, so you can just click sign on and John can see the products. So here you can see that John is created as a user, but the last sign-on date is not set. And we will do that in a moment. At this point, I'm also just going to create a view of the users table. You do this by going to your SQL query. I want to create a view. It's called app users as, and then the SQL query. If I execute that now, you will see here in my views in PHP My Admin, I have exactly the same table as the users table. And I will explain in a moment. So in PHP Runner, I'm going to jump straight back to my tables view, and I'm going to synchronize the database so that my app users view can show up. This user table over here is the user table that we use for authentication. We are not going to use this table for anything else. But I just created a view, and I'm going to click on app users, and that we can now use. The purpose of this table is to allow administrators to create users as well. So I'm going to click next till I get to my pages view. It's important that I now have to set the ID, and I'm going to need a list page, an inline edit, and an inline add. For list and search columns, I'm just going to leave it as is, but definitely not for inline add and edit. Please take a moment and observe my selections. Now from here we are going to jump straight to the security page and select the permissions. And I'm going to click the permissions. First of all, we will have to tell PHP Runner which field in the user table contains the groups. And it's user group in this case. You can now go and click on add group, and admin is the first one, so I click OK. And you can add another group and select general. This data was already populated in the database, and that's why it was here available for selection. But if it wasn't, you can simply go and say create a new group, and you will be able to do the same. For my admin user as well as my general users, the normal user table I'm going to unselect. The user table is for authentication purposes only. It's not advisable to use the user table for any pages. And that is why I created a view in PHP My Admin. You can also go and create the view in PHP Runner. So for general users, we don't want them to be able to see any app users, but the administrator must be able to see both. Now I'm just going to click next to go to my page designer. Make sure that I am on the app users list page. Now you can double click to set the edit as and the view as properties for each field. Click on user ID, and I'm going to edit that as read only. The name field, just edit as a required field. The registration source, edit as read only. The email field, I'm going to edit as a required field as well as prevent duplicate values. This is the message that you can now amend or change to anything you like. This will show up when an email address is already in the database. I'm just going to leave the default. On the password field, on the view as, I'm going to do some custom code. I'm just simply going to say, if the value of data registration source is not equals to admin, I want the value to be blocked. Value does not affect the table values in the database. It only overrides the display value on the page, and you will see that in action within a few moments. User group, I'm going to edit as Lookup Wizard. I don't have a database table containing the values, so I'm just going to supply the list of values. I'm going to click on add. I'm going to type in admin and general and it's going to be a required field. Last, sign on, edit as read only, as the system will supply this value. And user status is also going to be a lookup wizard with just a list of values I supplied, and I'm going to make it a required field. Now I'm going to jump straight to my event pages to add all code needed to complete the end-to-end process. First up is the login page before login. You probably noticed this session on top over here. I will explain in a moment. After successful login, I'm going to do the following. Now on the change password page, before change password, I'm going to perform the following code. You will recognize the session that I was talking about earlier on. It contains a message that you are not allowed to use the same password. I also added inline CSS with some HTML just to demonstrate that this is actually possible. Then on the change password page, after password changed, I'm going to perform this following code. Please note the security API. I use it to get the username, which in this case is also the email address. I am now going to go straight to the app users page, and before a record added, I'm only going to say, before you add this record, set the registration source field to admin. Now I'm going back to my change password page before change password, and I'm just going to copy this session. Now I'm going to go straight back to Page Designer. Make sure that I am on common pages and the change password page. I want to display the message that's currently stored in the session variable here next to the password. For that, I'm first going to split the cell into two by clicking over here. And now I have this half of the cell, and I'm going to go and insert a code snippet. I'm going to call my code snippet message, and I am simply going to echo the session. And I click OK. Okay, so we know that John can sign on, and since he is a general user, he can only see the product table. Now let's sign on as the administrator. You will see that the administrator has access to the products table like everybody else, but they also have access to the users tables. Please note that the password is completely blocked for him because he didn't create these users. He can, however, go and edit the record. He can go and change name, email, and also the user group and the user status. So let's just make the user status inactive for John. We save that. Sign on as John, and John will get a message to say your profile is currently inactive. So let's sign on as admin again. Go to users. And he can also add users. So let's add a user called Gary. And we're going to say the password is 4567. Please note, since Gary was created by the administrator, he can see the password. So the administrator must still inform Gary about his login credentials. Gary hasn't signed on yet. We can see that because there's no date. So we are now going to sign on as Gary 4567. Since this is the first time Gary is signing on, and because Gary was created by the administrator, Gary is now forced to change his password. Gary cannot skip this step, so he will have to change his password 4567. Let's say, for instance, Gary liked the password 4567. And I want to keep it as that. He now gets a message that says old and new passwords cannot be the same. So we force Gary to change something else. 4567 old password. His new password is 7777. to confirm the password 7777. Now the password was changed with his new password 7777, and Gary can see the products. Let's just sign on as administrator again and go to the users. Remember that the administrator could see Gary's password, but since Gary has signed on and Gary changed his password, the password is now blocked for the administrator as well. Lastly, I just want to demonstrate. If you go to your user, right on the right hand corner of the page, you can go, any user can go and change your password over here. And the same rule will apply. You cannot reuse the previous password. So for Wilder, I hope I answered your question and hopefully was helping someone out there. There is a link in the description where you will be able to go and copy all code that was used within this tutorial. I know that I did not explain everything that I was doing, but if you need more explanation regarding any of the code, please don't hesitate to ask. Or perhaps if you have a better way of doing it, please feel free to share with us. Please leave your comments. I would like to hear from you, and thanks again for asking the questions, and thanks for watching. Till next time.